I met a gypsy.
That whole generation, like the Mini Warriors generation, it's like you were so young in the spotlight and still pretty relevant, like a lot of you guys, you know, like I think of like you and I think of Hill, you know, Travis, like it seems like that generation got a lot of mileage out of the sport in a sense, you know?
I mean, dude, I was 12, I think, for Mini Warriors.
Yeah, right.
That was a hell of a time. Let me tell you, that whole story, the whole filming of Mini Warriors, like there's so many behind the scenes bloopers that I don't think that anyone ever wanted to come out. You know, I mean, they had the cops come multiple times. Oh
Really?
yeah.
What was it like? What was the deal?
So it was Kelly Tedder,
Yeah.
Clayton Miller.
Dude, Kelly, I was thinking about, you know, remember 50 Nuts?
Yeah.
They got like that big ass drain. Was that on the 91? Do you remember that? Like, cause I was trying to think of who it was that was like but Kelly Tedder, he was like the main guy in 50 Nuts. Yeah. I was only thinking about him the other day and I could not remember his name.
He was crazy.
Yeah.
He honestly,
right.
he was, I spoke to him, I think a couple years ago, I actually spoke to him, but no, they were all at my house, you know, little Brian Johnson, myself, and then those two. I think there was a few other guys that were in the film with us. I'm not 100% sure if they were there or not that night. I just had knee surgery, or my knee was just blew my knee out, so I was still struggling. We went to Walmart or something, and then obviously Kelly Tedder and Clayton Miller, being way older than us, were mucking around and being idiots. Got the cops called, kicked us all out, even though I wasn't even really there. So we went to Winn-Dixie, which is just across the street. Yes, Winn-Dixie.
Yeah.
Which is a grocery store, by the way.
Yeah.
And in Cairo, Georgia. And they did the same thing in Winn-Dixie, and the same cops got called. And they came up to me while I was in checkout, while they were, you know, messing around in the back of the store. I was in checkout. Me and little Brian were there, and I'm buying gum and an apple juice because literally I'm 12 years old. Like, what else am I gonna do? And in the middle, like right there, they're like, "Come outside." I'm like, "For what?" They're like, "Well, your friends are messing around." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's them. Like, bird of a feather flock together." And that saying stuck with me from that day on. Arrested me, put me in the back of the cop car.
No, as a 12
At 12 years old. And then the main guy came and the sheriff, whatever he was, let us all go. But they were going to take the other ones to jail. I think they're just doing it to scare us. But I'm like, I literally was doing nothing, you know. And we all wore, you know, stupid stuff while we were riding dirt bikes too. That thank God didn't make it in. We're all just wearing really tiny underwear and shit was hanging out left and right. It was not a good sight. But dude, those honestly were probably some of the most fun times as racing, period. Talking to Michael LaPaglia yesterday, big Mike LaPaglia, not little Mike. He was like, "Man, those were the greatest times ever." And I'm like, if you can only go back in time, you know?
Dude, it fully, like, I don't know if you've ever thought about the effect that it had on like people all over the world, but I mean that it was so big in moto culture. You know, like me and my brother would have watched that fucking hundreds and hundreds of times. And like, I remember, was it Road and Dirt TV? Was that
roadanddirt.com?
Roadanddirt.com. Yeah. There's like a video of you like Can't Stop by Red Hot Chili Peppers. And it's like, you know, we're from a tiny town in the middle of nowhere, Australia. And it's like, that's what we had as kids, you know, and it's just crazy the reach that shit had and like the way that it inspires so many generations of riders that, you know, you would have just like never had any contact with.
You know, honestly, I've been reached out to a few times from people saying the same thing you just did. And, you know, back then, no, I would never have thought that. It was all just for fun. You know, I was just pumped to ride with guys and to make cool footage. And, you know, back then, obviously for the VCR and stuff. But it was just a cool time. I never once ever thought of, oh, you know, this, you know,
you would have had no idea.
Not at 12 years old,
no.
You know, and, you know, looking back now, it's like, I can imagine that it did because of how big of an impact that movie had on the sport.
Yeah.
Not just with me though. I mean, there was so many other amateurs that were fast in it.
Oh, dude, Josh Hill, like he was
Even
in it.
Tomac was in it.
Tomac was
That
in
was
it.
his whole rodeo
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
So
Yeah,
chewing on the wheatgrass.
yeah, that's right.
But there was so many good riders.
Yeah.
That's obviously still are relevant today. But no, we would have never. I don't think back then you would have never thought
You
that
couldn't have,
it reached so many people and helped inspire them to keep racing or to keep riding or to keep trying and doing things. Nah.
It's funny that like, so I've got one of the boys that works for me in Australia, Alex, Moto Kid, same deal, and like it's his first trip over to America. He came over last week, and it's like, I don't think Americans have the perspective of how much they're the center of the motocross universe. And you just grow up in it and you just do your thing, but there's always cameras around it, gets put on the internet. It's like ground zero for everything that goes on in the motocross world, almost, like especially in Supercross. But it's like we had our race at Mesquite on the weekend.
Yep.
And he's like frothing because he plays it on an MX sim. And I'm like, what the? That's like the next generation is like these kids playing
the MXM, all this stuff. I'm like,
yeah.
Julian does the same stuff, and I'm like, he's like, dude, I just played this last night. I know this rhythm section. I'm like,
yeah,
it's not the same as a freaking computer game or whatever they're playing it on. Like I haven't played video games in 12 years, so I since my son was born, I played with him maybe 2 or 3 times, but dude, I can't play.
No, I'm the same, yeah.
Especially when I hit my head, now my eyes go bloodshot almost instantly. So
really?
I really can't play.
No shit.
My eyes start to hurt so bad that it's not worth it. But no, I mean, for us growing up, the cameras weren't too bad back then because it was, I think,
it was way more like innocent in a sense, eh? It wasn't so like on Instagram, instant feedback.
Dude,
like
we had MySpace, we had AIM.
Yeah.
It was AOL. It was AOL Instant Messenger. That's all we had. Phones were just starting to come out. The bleep bleep, the walkie-talkie Nextel was the thing over here.
Yeah.
But no, I would say I didn't grow up in that era. So for me now, trying to get into the whole swing of the social media and stuff like that is, I think, harder because I never grew up with it.
Yeah.
But I think now, if you had now, or then what there is now, I think it would have been a whole different story. I think things would be way bigger because of our generation, even the era just right before me, and with the Lusk and the Carmichaels and K-Dub when he first started, and the Dowds, like everyone like right there that's building it up, in the McGraths obviously, building it up to where then it came into our era. It just exploded, but I think it would have been way bigger had we had social media like we do now.
Yeah, but I wonder how much of the culture you'd kind of lose, because like you think about, let's say you go film like someone's there filming some races or like going to your place and filming, and then it takes like probably 5-6 months for that to actually go anywhere. You know what I mean? Whereas nowadays it's like, you post, you edit, you film, you edit, you post, and then it's like the next day. There's no DVDs anymore. There's no, you know what I mean? Like the culture's kind of like gone from it. Like I can remember when you said that Eli Tomac thing. It's like the song comes back. But even like I was watching a Terra Firma clip today, and it's like you cannot use that kind of music anymore.
No.
Back then, it didn't even matter what fucking music you used. Like you could literally just do whatever you wanted. And I think all of that adds so much more to the culture that you just kind of don't. It's kind of gone now, like a new 21 Savage song comes out and it's like every single rider in the 250 class within a 3-week span will have some kind of edit to the new 21 Savage song.
I don't even really know how to make edits on Instagram, so
you shouldn't. You're old.
I'm lost with that
I'm old.
stuff.
You're old.
Yeah, I'm lost with that. My wife helps me make some of the edits. But I get what you're saying for sure, but it also would have helped, I think, the sport grow.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as the culture though, 100%, I think we had the best era when it came to like just that badass culture that everyone wanted to be a part of. now there's so much friction. There's so much, tension between every rider. No one can go and talk to each other. And it's just like, dude, it's at the end of the day,
It ain't that deep.
you guys ride dirt bikes for a living. You know what I mean? Like, I get that you got to be serious. I get this is your job, but at the end of the day, again, you ride a dirt bike. Like, he is just trying to beat you. But at the end of the day, for what reason is there so much animosity between the whole entire industry? There's no need for it. And I think social media has a way of creating all that animosity between everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm glad for us that, we didn't have that. Yeah, I mean, I had Michael Lessie, who I absolutely despised as an amateur racer, let's face it, but there was no one else that I really cared about.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it was just friends. I would go talk to everybody. I couldn't do that when I went pro. No one would talk to you. Everyone was too serious, but eventually they started learning, like, dude, I'm going to talk to you no matter if you like it or not.
Yeah.
I'm just going to talk.